All right, so how to do the mobility portion of your program, or I would actually say when to do the mobility program. I'm sure you've already watched the video where we spoke about the corrective exercises, and maybe you've already seen the video where we talk about the stretches. The most important thing with the mobility program is that we always do the mobility before the stretching. This is because before, from 10 years ago, we used to think that stretching was important because the muscles were always actually short. But what we have realized and we have learned is a lot of the shortness actually comes from the neuromuscular portion of the body, so the nervous system, the brain. And what we can do is when we do our mobility massage, if you will, that it releases the neurological tightness within that muscle, so then when we go into the stretching portion, it makes more sense. We automatically get more range of motion back. There's less of a fight from our body, therefore it ends up being less painful. So the mobility program is very simple. You can go anywhere from 2 to 15 to 20 minutes on each exercise. You can really just listen to your own body and do it the way in which the video will suggest and which feels better for you. The only real rule that we need to follow on this one is that we should really almost always, and I say almost because I'll give the caveats at the end, really almost always do the mobility before the stretching. Now the caveat there is sometimes you will realize in our programs I talk about waking up in the morning and going into some of these archetype positions where there's been no mobility done at all. That's because often we want to warm up before we stretch. However, we at GTS have a theory that sometimes that is always not 100% correct. So why I said we almost always want to do the mobility before, we also want to remember sometimes that during the day we are not warm and we still need that range of motion. So in that case, if you have your morning routine from one of my programs from before, where I speak about doing the squat position, doing the Achilles stretch, or whatever it may be, that is okay. However, in this program, the program that you have with the corrective exercises, the mobility and the stretching, I really want you to focus on, like I said, the only rule, and that's try as much as you can to always do the mobility before the stretching. If you want to play around and sometimes leave the mobility out and try the stretching, that is also okay, because that is just another conversation you will have with your body, and the more you will learn about yourself. But if the goal is to really increase the range of motion efficiently and in a shorter amount of time, that would mean we consistently would want to use the mobility always before the stretching program.